The night was bitter cold, the kind of cold that gnawed at bones and scraped at dignity. Snowflakes swirled under the dim glow of a flickering street lamp, coating the empty sidewalks in silence. In the corner of a lavish estate on the outskirts of the city, a girl barely 17 stood trembling. Her clothes were thin, her shoes worn to threads, and her eyes, wide, desperate, and shining with unshed tears, were fixed on the tall iron gates of a mansion that looked more like a palace. She had nowhere else to go. And so, clutching a battered backpack to her chest, she whispered a plea that seemed almost absurd. "Please, can I just sleep in the doghouse tonight?" The security guard stared at her in disbelief. Behind him, beyond the gates, the sprawling home of billionaire Alexander Kane glittered, like a world she didn't belong to. Alexander, one of the wealthiest and most private men in the country, was known for his cold demeanor and ruthless business tactics. His empire stretched across continents, but his heart was rumored to be as frozen as the ground beneath the girl's feet. No one begged to stay on his property. No one even dared. Yet here was Emily Harper, a girl whose life had been reduced to a series of locked doors and harsh rejections. Her mother had died 2 years ago, leaving her alone with a stepfather whose cruelty eventually drove her to run away. She had slept in bus stations, under bridges, in shelters when they weren't full. But tonight the shelters were overflowing, and the icy wind threatened to steal her breath away. In the darkness, she had wandered through the wealthy district, drawn by the faint glow of a small, heated doghouse she had seen earlier in the day when she passed the mansion gates. The guard hesitated, torn between his duty and the sight of her trembling hands. Before he could answer, a deep, commanding voice broke the silence. "What's going on here?" Alexander Kane himself stepped out from behind the gates, a towering figure wrapped in an expensive black coat. His sharp eyes narrowed as he studied the frail girl before him. Emily swallowed hard, every instinct telling her to run. Her exhaustion anchored her in place. I just need a place to sleep," she stammered. "Even the doghouse, just for tonight." The air thickened with an uncomfortable tension. Alexander glanced toward the small doghouse nestled in the corner of his perfectly manicured lawn. It was warm, furnished with plush bedding, better than any place she had slept in weeks. For a long moment, he said nothing, his expression unreadable. The guard shifted uneasily, expecting him to call the police or order the girl away. Instead, Alexander did something no one expected. He said quietly. Emily blinked, certain she had misheard. "I can stay in the doghouse?" "No." Alexander replied, his voice firm. "Inside the house." The guard's eyes widened, but he stepped aside as Alexander personally opened the gate. Emily hesitated, fear battling with hope, before finally stepping forward. Her legs nearly gave out when she entered the mansion's warmth, the scent of cedar and faint cinnamon wrapping around her like a forgotten memory of home. Alexander led her to the kitchen, where a fire crackled and a housekeeper quickly brought hot soup. Emily sipped it with trembling hands, feeling the warmth spread through her body. Still, she couldn't understand why a man like him would help a girl like her. Over the next few days, Alexander's staff offered her clean clothes and a guest room to rest. Emily expected to be thrown out each morning. Alexander kept returning with quiet questions. Where was her family? Why was she alone? At first, she resisted, guarding her story like a wounded animal protects a broken limb. But his calm persistence eventually broke through her fear. When Emily finally told him everything, about her mother's death, her abusive stepfather, the nights spent hiding under bridges, Alexander's eyes softened in a way no one had ever seen. For years, he had built walls around his own heart, burying the pain of losing his wife and unborn child in a tragic accident. He had turned his grief into a fortress of wealth, believing that love only led to loss. But Emily's courage, her quiet strength despite unimaginable hardship, cracked those walls like sunlight piercing a storm cloud. Their bond grew in unexpected ways. Alexander began helping Emily not out of pity, but out of respect for her resilience. He enrolled her in a private school, arranged counseling, and introduced her to mentors who could guide her future. Emily, in turn, brought a warmth to his home that money could never buy. The mansion, once silent and cold, now echoed with laughter and the scent of freshly baked cookies as Emily and the staff shared small, joyful moments. But their journey wasn't without obstacles. Rumors spread quickly. Tabloids painted Emily as a scheming runaway chasing fortune. Former business rivals accused Alexander of using the girl for publicity. Emily faced classmates who mocked her past and whispered cruel things behind her back. More than once, she considered running away again, unwilling to be the source of Alexander's scandal. It was during one of those moments of doubt that Alexander sat her down and said words she would never forget. "Emily, people will always talk. Let them. You don't have to prove your worth to anyone. You already have." Those words became a turning point. Emily began to believe in her own value, independent of her past. She excelled in school, discovered a love for art, and even started a small foundation to help homeless youth, using her story to inspire others. Years later, when Emily stood on a stage to receive an award for her work, Alexander watched from the audience, his eyes filled with pride. The girl who once begged to sleep in a doghouse had become a beacon of hope for countless others. And when reporters inevitably asked Alexander why he had opened his door that fateful night, he gave a simple, powerful answer. Because sometimes the person knocking isn't looking for charity. They're looking for a chance. And everyone deserves at least that. Emily's journey from the cold streets to a life of purpose reminded the world of a truth too easily forgotten. Kindness costs nothing, but it can change everything. That night, a poor girl's desperate plea not only found her shelter, it melted a millionaire's frozen heart and built a bridge of compassion that would inspire millions.